Today, I would like to address a fairly disturbing trend that's somehow, against all odds, it's surfacing in the U.S. Um, this is this is one of those videos where no one should ever have to make, especially a black man speaking to another black man. Um, it seems oxymoronic, but it's not. All over America, we have a phenomenon called Black Republicans. And although I usually vote Democrat, I do not consider myself a Democrat. I vote for, I vote selfishly. I vote for what I believe in, and I believe that everyone should vote selfishly for what they believe in, because that is what democracy is built on. We should not be voting for what we believe is a group interest, because that is detrimental to democracy. And somehow the two-party system has convinced us to vote utilizing under the influences of groupthink. And that is why our democracy is broken today. What I can say is voting is one of the few decisions that you should make selfishly. I mean, voting is private, so you can make decisions selfishly. And if we vote selfishly, and we vote selfishly but informed, we'll have a much better and a much stronger democracy. So somehow we have more black Republicans today under Trump than we have had before Trump. And this is mind-boggling, because Trump is arguably one of the most unapologetic race baiting president that I've seen in my lifetime. I'm only 37, so I don't really know, but I haven't read about presidents that was as race baiting as Donald Trump. So how does this happen, right? And there's a few things that the Republican Party has repeatedly said that misleadingly influences the African American uninformed. And it seems as if these uninformed African Americans are converting to Trump, because it seems like Trump is good for African Americans. So I'm not here to say vote Republican or vote Democrat. I am just trying to give a fairly honest overview of what my observations has been. And although it may sound biased, I'm trying not to be biased. So I would like to, I should have prefaced this saying, if you believe in Republican values, and you believe in Republican systems, vote Republican. But understand the systems first. So let's address this black unemployment rate that they always bring up. Um, yes, black unemployment is down. It's down. It's down for a reason. It's down because previously to Trump, there was a foundation laid that significantly decreased black unemployment. Here's why. First, look at African Americans. African Americans and Latinos, the foundation of labor industries. They're the foundation of food service, foundation of nursing, foundation of farming. Low wage workers are the foundation of America. So as the American economy gets stronger during periods of expansion, because you remember when Obama came into office, and I'm not here to praise Obama, this is factual data. When Obama came to office, we were in a recession, right? Unemployment was high. So Obama utilized what he termed, I believe it was middle class economics, where he invested in the middle class, invested in small businesses. And I know personally because I was volunteering for a SCORE organization, a Service Corps of Retired Executives, and I was at the luncheon. I was at lunch at one of these luncheons, and the SBA director at the time, the Latino, the Latino woman, I can't remember her name off the top of my head, and I remember how she fought for small businesses and how she pushed through, SBA funding, loans, funding after they ran out of funding. She got it done in a matter of months instead of what it usually take, 18 months to get done. So I saw the increase in funding in the SBA. I saw the amount of African Americans that was moving from jobs to entrepreneurship. I saw the effect of investing in the middle class and the lower class. So employment rate was high. In fact, I was just looking at a chart recently. Okay, here. Probably can't see this, but black unemployment rate in the year 2000 was high. Okay, Obama took office, right? It was going high because we were in a recession. This is normal. This is normal in a recession. Right? It was high. This is another recession. This is what happens. We have these cycles, but it's constantly going down. So it's high. Obama took office, and it started going down, down. Every year, down. So this is 2020. When Obama left office, we were still in the trend of going lower and lower unemployment rates. All right, looks like he took when Trump took office, we were probably at about 6% unemployment rate for African Americans, but it was still going down. So when someone quote and say unemployment was at its all-time lowest under Trump, just because Trump was president does not mean that he gets to take credit for the foundation that was laid in order to decrease black unemployment. Imagine building a house, right? And you build a really, really strong foundation. You build a really, really strong foundation. Brick home, everything anchors to that foundation, right? Then someone comes and repairs a door, or repairs windows, maybe repair the roof, right? They come and finish it, the job. And then a hurricane comes through and the house stands on its own. Does the guy who repaired the roof get the credit? Does the guy who repaired the windows or the doors? No, it's the person who took the time to meticulously build a strong foundation that homes can stand on, that home can stand on. This is the same under the Trump administration. Now, that said, there's been investments in the energy sector that has produced jobs. Right? There has been job growth in the energy sector. Check out and see what bills have the Trump administration passed that allowed the growth or the decrease or the decline in black unemployment. Very few. Most of its job growth goes to rural communities. Most of it. Most of its growth goes to the energy sector. That's what happens. And the energy sector don't have a lot of African Americans working in it. Now, I personally believe in entrepreneurship. I don't believe that $15 an hour jobs will be able to significantly take the black community out of poverty in any way. I believe entrepreneurship is the route that we should be focusing on. But the world tends to believe that invest in big business, they'll give them a $15 job, they're able to eat, pay their rent, maybe pay their car note, and that suffice. No. We are at the bottom of a valley, right? And we need to climb to the top. It's going to be a long, hard climb, but we need extra energy to do it. And that extra energy is capital. We need that capital. We need that capital to make those investments, to get out of the rut that we've been in for 400 years. The weight that the American economy has placed on the black man's back. And $15 an hour isn't going to do it. So I believe in entrepreneurship. And entrepreneurship in America is what has brought the unemployment rate down until it was destroyed by the Trump administration, of course. Secondly, I want to address the HBCUs. Very early on, I don't know if you guys remember, very early on, after Trump's reelection, he repealed or signed an executive order that allows nonprofit institutions to take part in political campaigning. This is a big no-no because nonprofit institutions like churches or Salvation Army, these or Red Cross, they do not, they're supposed to be neutral. Because imagine if the Red Cross only served white communities, or if they only served black communities, or if they only served communities that were Republicans or Democrat. Imagine that. But there are so many nonprofits. Actually, the majority of nonprofits, once we include churches, are are actually religious groups. And do you understand the biggest push to conservative Republicans? Their biggest base are conservative Christians. The biggest base are conservative Christians. So it doesn't shock me that Trump was willing to fund faith-based historical black universities. Arguably, he's done more for faith-based historically black universities than Obama. He did. But he didn't do it because they were black. He did it because they were Christian. And his base is Christian, although he's probably the worst Christian that I've ever met. And I'm saying this as a non-Christian, or as a agnostic, someone who does not attach to any religion, but being raised Christian. He's probably one of the worst Christians that I've ever met. Now, conservative Christianity is why the South always vote Republican. It is conservative Christianity. Its base is Christianity. Without the conservative Christian vote, he would never stand a chance. So yes, invest in black conservative Christians, and therefore it increases your chances of being reelected. Now, I'm going to address one more thing referencing handouts versus hand-ups. People believe that the Democrats are trying to build a welfare state, right? Versus the Republicans want you to work hard. That is utterly false. Basically, in practice, the Republicans supposed to believe in free market, right? And less government, less oversight, etc. I understand that. Less oversight means less rules to follow, which in turn means more business. So let's take like environmental issues. We have laws in the US for mining. If you dig a mine, when you leave this area, you must return this area to its original state, right? A lot of companies realize that it's really expensive to do that. And there's other laws as well, like how you must filter your particulates and what type of equipment, how you deal with wastewater, and etc. Some of these cleanup things are really, really expensive. So they go to other countries with less laws regulating it because they want to dig a hole and fill it with dirty, contaminated water and be able to leave, take their profit and go. So if you strip those laws out of the EPA, companies will return to America because now they can, increase their margins by not having to clean up clean up after themselves. That's just an example. That's a real example, though. That is not made up. That's a real example. That's what happened, right? You see it with the Dakota Pipeline when the Native Americans was protesting. One of the first things that Trump did when he got in office was change who controlled the Army Corps of Engineers, because the Army Corps of Engineers rules is what blocked the Dakota pipeline. Deregulation. That's what deregulation means. Do you support that type of deregulation? I do not. Do I believe in free market? I do. I do. I believe 100% in free market. I believe that capitalism can work, but I also believe that capitalism don't work. Not for the African American community as it existed and as it is implemented today by the existing capitalists that rule these lands. So handouts versus hand-ups. How do factories get started in America? Typically with what? Loans. How do new cars get bought? Loans. How do mortgages get a home to be purchased? Loans. How is farming propagated and expanded throughout America? Loans. These are hands ups. This is the hand up in America. It's access to capital. That's the hand up in America. Now, in order to qualify for these loans, you need great credit. In order to get great credit, you need great jobs. Typically in America, great jobs, going back 15, 20, 30, 40 years ago, great jobs mean a great education. And that great education and that work was able to have your grandparents build a home, or your mom build a home and pass it down to you, and taught you good financial management and put you through great schools, and therefore put you on a path to success. In the African American community, that never happened. In fact, my great grandmother did not have access to fair and equal education. I can make the argument today that many black kids living in urban America do not have access to fair and equal education. Our schools are still closing down because of the lack of funding. Think about this. Education builds jobs. Jobs builds wealth. But you're closing down schools because of the lack of money. When these kids are going to school to get a better career, to contribute to the economy in America, but you're essentially giving up on this community. Because, and this may be for another videos, but in most areas in America, in most urban areas, schools are funded by property taxes. Places with low property values, they pay less taxes, and therefore their schools are underfunded. Schools are underfunded. Places with high value homes pay more taxes, and therefore their schools are overfunded. Now you tell me if that system isn't flawed to ensure that the wealthy have better access to public education or private education than impoverished communities. As I told you, these systems were designed before we were even a factor, where they knew exactly what they were doing, and they did not care. So, generational wealth was built. Grandfather to grandkids, grandkids to their kids, and it passes down. We see a lot of our sports stars. We see a lot of our musicians. We see a lot of actors. We see a lot of inventors and black scientists a lot of black entrepreneurs who are the first time homeowners, or their mother, they bought their mother out of poverty. Was it their mother's fault? No, the system was rigged against their mother. System is still rigged today, but we're just a little bit better than we were before. And progress is progress. But we are a little bit better today than we were before, because there are conscious people who are fighting to make sure that the next generation has better opportunities than the existing one. So, if generational wealth didn't exist, when this child turns 18 and wants to start a business, or graduate college and need that co-signer on that commercial loan to start a business, not a lot of black families have a grandmother or auntie or mother who's willing to co-sign, or not willing, only willing, but has the ability to co-sign on a loan. Now, I'm not saying just a good credit score, but the ability that says that if you mess up my credit, I can pay off that debt and repair it. That is just not possible. It's not common in our communities. You know what's really common in other communities with generational wealth? That the parents pay for the down payment on their son's or daughter's first home. That's a hand up that America has provided others. Culturally, generational wealth. That is a hand up that America has not given to the African Americans that built this country. So yes, to substitute for the hand up or the handout that you've given the previous generations and excluded African Americans, in order to be equal, we need that handout today. What does that mean? That means just like the parents are willing to pay for their home, maybe there should be programs to say, you know what, we screwed up, here's $30,000 for your down payment for your home. You know what, we've screwed up. Here is one-time forgiveness on or easy access to commercial loans, or federally backed commercial loans with a very low interest rate and a low down payment, and easy to approve, specifically because you're a part of the diaspora, the African American descendants of enslaved Africans. Because of that fact, only because of that fact, not all minorities, none of this other stuff to try to water it down. It should be descendants of African, descendants of enslaved Africans. Get this, because since the days of slavery, we prevented them from creating generational wealth. And if anyone ever says that we don't want to give handouts to descendants of enslaved Africans, they do not care for and do not understand the plight that African Americans have faced in America. Because we need a lot more than a hand up in order to level these playing fields. And I'm gonna end this part with just basic understanding, so you can understand. Imagine running a race. African American, Caucasian American, and we're running. Right? They say you need to make 10 laps. Right? You need to have 10 laps. And they say, but you know what, Caucasian American, you can run around 3 laps for free, 4 laps for free. And after that Caucasian American gets to the cross the line the fourth time, you get to run. Right? He's already 4 laps ahead of you. He's already 4 laps ahead of you. So you're behind. You're behind 4 laps. So what would be fair? Would it be fair for them just to say, okay, you start at lap 4? So a lot of people will think. But that would not be fair either. Why? Because he's already built up his speed, he's built up his progress, he's in his form, he's in his zone, he's going. So he's starting off running at 20 miles an hour, and you're starting off at 5 or something, and you have to build up your speed. So it's not fair. So in fact, you need to start up at about lap 5 or lap 4.5. You need to get ahead. You need that extra push to be made equal. You need that extra space. You need to give them, they need to give you a little bit extra in order to make it equal, because they got to give you the time to catch up in speed. So you guys are running the same speed on the same lap. Do you understand that? This is why African American communities need the proper handouts that is actually due to them. I'm not talking about free food, I'm not talking about free housing, I'm talking about access to the credit markets in America, period. So I'm going to close saying that after my explanation, I hope you can think about the systems that you're going to vote for in November. Because you're not voting for Trump. You're voting for the system that he represents. You're not voting for Biden. You're voting for the systems that he represents. And whoever you vote for, whether it's independent or a Green Party, think about the systems that they represent, not the person. The person's just an actor that's there to uphold the system. That actor that you see on television did not write the story most of the time. They're there just to perform what the writers and directors have told them to perform. That's what presidents are like. That's what politicians are. They're there to perform the script. They're to act out the script. So think about that script. And in politics, that script is the system. The systems that govern the government and the systems that govern the Department of Justice. The systems that govern traffic laws. The systems that govern the police. The systems that govern trade. The systems that govern minority communities. Systems that govern access to credit. Think about that. Do you want to support the system that is currently hindering growth in your community by denying access to credit because they're conservative? Or do you want to support the system that provides possibilities of obtaining access to fair and equal credit? This is what we're voting for. And until next time, that's my perspective.